Good afternoon. I would like to thank the Assembly members for inviting the Center for Environmental Health to speak here today. I am Ellen Webb, Program Associate at the Center for Environmental Health, a not-for-profit organization that's based here in New York City and in Oakland, California. Since its founding in 1996, the Center for Environmental Health has fought to eliminate harmful chemical exposures in millions of consumer products by working directly with businesses, communities, consumers, workers, government, and the private sector to demand and support practices that are safe for public health and the environment. As you have already heard from previous speakers already, the chemicals found in flame retardants have been linked to cancer, neurological deficits, developmental problems, and impaired fertility. Today, I would like to talk to you about how flame retardant chemicals are present in many products, including many products where they don't need to be, and explain how these chemicals get into our bodies, including our blood, breast milk, and children, and to illustrate that these toxic chemicals are unnecessary, as some companies have moved away from their use. Flame retardants are placed into foam furniture, baby products due to California's outdated Furniture Flammability Standard, TB117. This 37-year-old ineffective standard requires that bare foam is able to withstand a 12-second open flame test, such as a candle. The standard is typically met through the use of flame retardant chemicals because it is the easiest and cheapest way to meet that standard. The sad reality is that this standard has been found to offer no real safety benefit and instead exposes our nation to a steady stream of toxic and untested flame retardant chemicals. While the use of these flame retardant chemicals is common practice in foam furniture and baby products, what you might be surprised to know is that these flame retardant chemicals are also being used in products which are not required to do so by any standard or regulation. It has become extremely difficult to find foam that has not been treated with flame retardant chemicals. CEH has tested a broad section of typical nap mats that are used by child care centers. These are folding foam pads that children sleep on during nap time, and these products are not covered by the California's Furniture Flammability Standard or the Federal Mattress Standard. And yet, 100% of the foam nap mats CEH has tested contain flame retardant chemicals, including TDCPP, a form of chlorinated tris, as we've spoken about previously, that has known health problems. Chlorinated tris was removed from children's pajamas, as my colleague and others have already mentioned, in the 70s due to concerns about its mutagenicity, meaning its ability to mutate genes. Last year, it was placed on California's Proposition 65 list as a carcinogen in 2011. This is a list of chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer with a very high threshold of evidence for getting onto this list. This is what our nation's children are sleeping on during their formative years, but nap mats aren't the only products that contain unnecessary chemicals. Early testing of products, including egg crates, which are egg crate toppers for beds, the kind that you might send your college-age student to school with to offset the lumpy dorm bed, indicate that more than half of these products will also be likely to found to contain flame retardant chemicals, despite any requirement that they do so. Carpet padding, which is often made up of recycled foam that has been treated with flame retardants, has also been found to contain high levels of these chemicals. These chemicals have become ubiquitous in our homes, schools, and work environments. So how do these flame retardant chemicals get into our bodies? Well, you've already heard a little bit about this, but I'll explain a little bit more. Flame retardant chemicals are semi-volatile organic compounds and are problematic because they don't stay in the products in which they are placed. These chemicals continuously migrate out of the products into dust, food, soil, air, and water, where they can either be inhaled or ingested. Once in our bodies, they settle into our blood and fatty tissue and can be excreted in breast milk. Chemicals enter our bodies differently at different stages of our lives. So for fetuses and babies, the main route of exposure is across the placenta or through breast milk. Our nation's babies are being born pre-polluted by flame retardant chemicals, and many chemicals, including flame retardants, pass through the placenta. Evidence of this has been in many studies. Over 200 chemicals have been found in the cord of the blood of newborns, and in fact, one study found flame retardant chemicals in 100% of newborns tested. Infants' brains, organs, and reproductive systems are still developing, and as others have also mentioned today, exposure to toxic chemicals during these critical windows of development can cause subtle and permanent changes to health and affect their future abilities. One especially concerning study that was actually mentioned today by Dr. Hertzman from Columbia University School of Public Health, who spoke earlier, showed that children with high prenatal exposure to certain flame retardants scored an average of 5 points lower on IQ tests than children with lower prenatal exposure. This study, as she also mentioned, reveals that PBDE exposure can have the same impact on IQ as exposure to lead. Governments all over the world have restricted the use of lead in products because it is a powerful neurotoxin long known to reduce IQ. High levels of flame retardant chemicals have been detected in what should be nature's most wholesome food, breast milk. American women's breast milk has been found to contain 10 to 100 times higher levels in Europe, where the flame retardant chemicals were phased out much earlier. The pervasive nature of flame retardants in breast milk is of great concern given the persistence and bioaccumulative nature of these chemicals. For toddlers, the main route of exposure is through ingestion and contaminated dust. Toddlers have an estimated 3 times higher level of flame retardant burden than their parents due to their frequent hand-to-mouth behavior. U.S. children have some of the highest levels of flame retardants anywhere in the industrialized world, and due to California's outdated and ineffective flammability standard, California's children have the highest human body burden levels of flame retardants of Americans. Now, for adults, the primary route of exposure is food, estimated I think is about 82%, and then dust ingestion is about 14%, and inhalation is about 4%. Contaminated food sources include fish, meats, dairy products, fats, and oils. And a recent study showed that flame retardants have also been found in peanut butter and honey. Their presence in our food supply shows how pervasive these chemicals are, and that individual action alone cannot prevent exposure. However, producing products without toxic flame retardant chemicals is possible, and we know this. A number of manufacturers have chosen to either switch out the use of flame retardants or have simply chosen to never use them in their products. Non-chemical alternatives to flame retardants are available. Major companies including Boppy, Baby Bjorn, Orbit Baby Products do not use flame retardants in their products. And through product redesign and the use of inherently fire-resistant materials, such as wool, rubber, latex, naturally resistant, these companies have managed to produce non-toxic children products. But these products need to be commonplace, not the exception to the rule. In closing, I would like to say the public has the right to expect that the chemicals manufactured, imported, and used in this country are safe. We need effective laws to provide current and future generations with this assurance. New York State needs to take efforts to protect our children and our families from toxic chemicals, including flame retardants, as well as the thousands of other untested chemicals that enter our state. The time is now for action at the state and federal level to protect the public's health and the environment. Thank you.